Welcome to Twin Peaks Unwrapped. I'm your host, Ben Durant, and beside me is...
Bryon Kazaska. And hey, Ben, today we have the grandfather of Twin Peaks,
John Thorne himself. Hey, John.
Hey, guys. Good to talk to you.
It wasn't that long ago that issue 9 of the Blue Rose came out. What a great magazine. I mean, I'm always impressed how much you and Scott are able to pack into one issue.
We were very happy with this latest issue. It was... yeah, lots of good stuff.
fantastic cover, too.
That is the Double R Club from the UK.
Yes.
It wasn't that long ago that we had you on the community rewatch, and I'm still amazed that Harry Goez there, you got an interview with him. Scott was able to twist his arm and get him on.
You know, I had tried, and Brad Dukes had tried the year before to see if we could get an interview with him, and he refused to do it. He wasn't comfortable doing it. He said he didn't want to do it, and he had never done any interviews about Twin Peaks before. And so Scott said, I'm going to go ask him. And I said, well, you can go ask him, but he's not going to do it. And so Scott goes up, and I was busy with doing something else. And Scott walks back, and he goes, I've got the interview. And my mouth just dropped. I'm like, well, how did you do that? I mean, he said he wasn't doing interviews. Right. And I guess, I don't want to necessarily steal the story from Scott, but I think he asked him, and Harry Goez said, I don't do interviews. I like to keep the mystery alive. And Scott said, well, then you have to do at least one interview because that makes it even more mysterious. And that seemed to trigger it. And he said, okay, I'll do it.
Unbelievable. That is so special that we got it in this issue.
Yeah.
So happy. Yeah, really, really happy to talk to him.
That interview was incredible. But then we also get a new article from you, and it's kind of the follow-up to Wrapped in Plastic issue 60. This is big. This is huge. I'm so excited about this issue. A Strong Sender.
And I want to say, I feel like you got the title from... We always say a strong sender.
When we were originally doing this and we were going through the first couple seasons, that we were always making a joke about a strong sender. Yeah.
So I want to take credit for the fact you got the title from us. No, I'm only kidding.
For anyone who doesn't know, the title A Strong Sender comes from Cooper's comment in the first season where he says, you know, he didn't want to go talk to Sarah Palmer because he was afraid that he would his mental makeup would interfere with the talk with her because he is a strong sender. So he has some perhaps extra sensory abilities.
And what's so important, it was related to Sarah's vision, which I guess a vision could also be considered a dream. And that really does relate to all the new stuff. So can you get into us? What is the essence of this article?
I'll just back up a little bit. So Scott had asked me to write essentially a sequel to so I had written this essay way back when, 2002, in Wrapped in Plastic, called Dreams of Deer Meadow, in which at that point I had argued that the first 30 minutes of Fire Walk with Me was, in fact, actually what we were seeing was a dream, and it was Cooper's dream. And so Cooper was reimagining his visit to Deer Meadow and his attempt at investigating the murder of Teresa Banks. That essay has gotten a little interest over the years. And he said, well, now that, you know, the dream element has become so pronounced in season 3, and in fact, we get the line that's from Fire Walk with Me again, where Cooper says, we live inside a dream. He said, you know, you need to go back and talk about it with season 3 in mind. And so all I was going to do is just say, well, yeah, I guess it's still a dream, you know, or it's a dream, or I didn't even know for sure what I was going to do. I figured I'd just sort of pick up where I left off and say, well, it kind of is the same thing all over again. When I really started thinking about it and really taking some time to look at what was going on in season 3, I started to feel a little differently about it. And ultimately, I think I came up with this idea that I'm very, very happy with and confident in about not what is happening in season 3, but how we should be watching season 3. And it all really kind of comes down to defining what a dream is. And so I think most of us often when we hear the word dream, or we live inside a dream, we're thinking of this sort of mental fantasy of, you know, a sleeping character, or maybe they're not asleep, but it's still something they're fantasizing about, and that's what the dream is. And so the dream kind of makes it less real and less relevant. And that kind of troubled me a little the more I looked at it and the more I read about what Lynch himself, I think, felt what the idea of what dreaming is. And for me, sort of one of the key lines came from another Lynch film, which is Lost Highway. And of course, there's a famous line in Lost Highway where Fred Madison says, I like to remember things the way I remember them, not necessarily the way they happened.
Yeah.
And I found other Lynch quotes in his own life that seem to support the idea of we all see the universe the way we want to see it. We all have sort of our own personal filters we put forth. So you and I could see a car accident and I would see it completely differently or significantly differently than maybe you would. Or I would see details that you didn't see. Or I would put my own self into and interpret it in some way that would be different than what you would. And so the more I thought about that, the more I thought, that's kind of what I think is happening in season 3. I think what we are seeing through most of season 3 are the events of the story as Dale Cooper sees them. I don't mean that he's dreaming them necessarily. I mean, this is how he's processing what is happening. If he were to sit down and tell us the story of season 3, this is how he would have told it. And it would have had these sort of quirky little elements to it. It would have these sort of odd pieces to it, and it wouldn't necessarily be the way it happened. It would be the way he wanted it or thought it happened. And one of the points I make later in the essay is what I say is that this is Cooper's version of the story, but if another character had been sort of the primary filter, if it had been Hawk, for example, who was telling us the story of Mr. C coming to Twin Peaks and Jack Rabbit's Palace and all the different things, Hawk would tell it in a different way, and we would then see a different season 3 if it had been Hawk. So I don't know if that makes sense. I went on and on there, but what I believe we're seeing in season 3 is a filtered story. We're seeing it the way Dale Cooper is seeing it, and so it is not necessarily perfectly accurate, and it helps explain maybe some of the idiosyncratic and incomplete elements of season 3.
Interesting.
And so in, Wrapped in Plastic number 60, you were saying the first half hour of that film was basically a dream. So in season 3, is it all Cooper's dream?
Okay, so again, the word dream, I think Lynch would say dream is not a fantasy. Dream is an interpretation. So I'm dreaming it. It's that everyone sees the world in their own way. And Lynch even uses a quote, the world is as you are, meaning, and this comes from some of the Hindu philosophy, the world is as you are. The world is reflected to you as you want it or can't help but see it. And so I would say that, yes, almost everything we're seeing in season 3 is how Cooper sees it. So it's through his psyche that we're seeing all this. It's a step outside of the story. It's sort of a layer that is only kind of hinted at when we get to part 17, where we suddenly see this huge face of Cooper, superimposed over the action. None of the characters in the scene are aware of Cooper being there. Gordon Cole doesn't see this giant face. Cooper himself doesn't see this giant face. The only ones who see it are the audience. And so, I mean, you can't really tackle season 3 without trying to explain what that is, what is happening there. And my way of interpreting that is that we are seeing briefly the layer between us and the story, and the layer between us and the story is Cooper's mind, interpreting things as they go along. It's a tough concept to explain. I don't know if I'm doing it well, but
I think you're doing it well.
Yeah, that's how I always saw it too. I saw it like we're in this different world or layer, whatever we want to call it,
Yeah, and I would argue that, there's been other dream theories that have been out there. And Tim Kreider, who's a great writer, he recently posted, and we interviewed him in issue 8 of the Blue Rose, about this theory where he said all of Twin Peaks is Cooper's dream, and that Cooper might not be Cooper, he might be somebody else. But essentially what he's saying in a theory like that is that all of what we're seeing is really just inside his mind. I am arguing that what we're seeing really happened, that there really was a Mr. C who went on this mission to try to find the coordinates and, amass power. And there really was, a Major Briggs who was trying to stop him putting a plan forth. There really is a Gordon Cole, and there really is a place called Twin Peaks, and there's these characters. There really is a Dougie who appears in Las Vegas. These things are real, quote unquote, within the story. The story has some relevance, and we have investment in these characters, and it's worthy of investing, and they're real. But what we are seeing is how Cooper sees them. Yeah. So it's real, but it's got a dreamlike quality to it because we're seeing it through Cooper's mind.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Phew.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. See you next week. There's things that don't make sense. They're minor things, but they don't make sense to us who have watched the original series. So why is Cooper's key say a clean place, reasonably priced? I mean, that's a line that Cooper says in the original series. The key, certainly, from season 1 to his room at the Great Northern, would not have had the line on it unless somehow he knew, the line was already there on the key. That's a really convoluted way of having to somehow make sense of that. He says that line, but in season 3, that line is on the key. Another very, very, very minor example is the character of Toad, who briefly appears in one of the episodes. It's played by a completely different actor. Lynch did not have to call that guy Toad, and he didn't have to use that actor. He could have used maybe the original actor was still around. I don't know.
Sabrina says to us that actor was in Firewalk with Me and named Toad. And when I try to bring up the fact that there was this big, heavy guy with a cap on named Toad, she doesn't seem to remember that. Or at least
that was from he was he was like someone who would come in though.
Oh, sure. He was Toad. That was Toad.
Yeah. That was Toad. He was known as Toad. He was in all the time. And then there was the cook named Toad in Firewalk with Me, and that's where they're bringing it back. But why is it the same
Maybe
name?
because Lynch had more involvement. Maybe he had nothing to do to create that Toad character. And
it's just odd, though, that in the same place, the double R, we would have two different Toads.
Yeah, I know.
My explanation is that Cooper just remembers Toads differently. I mean, it seems like a cop-out, but it's not. You might ask, well, where is Cooper in all of this? That's a tough thing to get at. I mean, I would argue that his mind is still in the Red Room.
Yes.
And when Laura Palmer says you can go out now, his mind is now observing what's taking place in the real world. Part of him went out as Dougie, and another part of him is already, a physical part of him went out as Dougie without a mind, and the other evil side of him is already out in the real world. But his mind is separate from that and processing all of these events as they take place. And so we are seeing these events as he processes them, which helps explain why they are told in such an unusual and eccentric way, and would then explain why maybe the key is the way it is, or Toad is the way he is. And I had other examples. I can't think of them offhand. I have to look real quick. But
I'm trying to think of the windshield wiper guy, and that had to do with Gordon Cole. And
that's a slightly different thing. I think there are some characters in the story who are more in tune with a larger universe than other characters. And I think the Log Lady is one of those characters. I think Carl Rod is one of those characters. And I certainly think Gordon Cole is one of those characters. And I think some of the things that happen to Gordon Cole are him becoming aware of Cooper's observing presence, if that makes any sense. That Cooper's mind is there. One of the great examples would be when Cole opens the door and he sees the giant face of Laura Palmer, in distress for a moment. Another one would be the window washer scene, which is really unusual. When he walks in, the window washer's suddenly there, and Gordon Cole kind of winces and is in pain, and then the scene seems to suddenly end, and the window washer never continues on and cleans the other windows in the hotel room. What are those bizarre occurrences? I would argue that maybe Gordon Cole is someone who's somewhat aware of this presence, this observing presence of Cooper.
I love in this article you're saying that that's actually a message sent from Cooper, which is kind of blows my mind.
One way of looking at it, I think it's a way that makes sense. I mean, there could be dozens of other logical explanations for it within the world of Twin Peaks, but given my theory here, of what's happening is I would say that manifestation of Laura is something that comes from Cooper.
And with Cole seeing Laura Palmer, I of course thought like, oh, it's David Lynch's obsession with Laura Palmer. Like he seems like, or maybe all of us that were haunted by that image. But it is puzzling for me, and it almost makes the most sense to think that, well, maybe there is a message being sent to him.
That's how right now I'm comfortable with the idea that Cooper is this presence. I mean, there's other scenes with Cole. Cole is in the hotel room in South Dakota, but he can hear the monitors of Dougie in Las Vegas.
I need to rewatch that. I missed that. So I mean, I definitely have to go back and check that out. I don't even remember.
He seems aware. He seems aware that that there's something going on with Cooper. Of course, Cole is one of those characters that passes out of the action in part 17 into that sort of dark space and then into the Great Northern basement.
I just realized, is it a boiler room?
It is a boiler room.
But it's funny, I just realized that because, like, I'm just thinking about the European pilot.
It's the same place.
Mike and Bob are in the boiler room.
Yeah.
I don't know if I realized that until now we're talking.
Yeah, it's the same place.
It's very similar.
Wow. This is not the best article you've written. It's got to be one of the best. I really love it. Maybe I'm just partial to, I love dreams. And I love that you brought up Lost Highway and connecting these dreams. And it's really good article.
Well, thanks very much. As I wrote it and as I did a little research on Lynch's philosophy and the way he looks at the universe, and Lynch is deliberately putting Hindu philosophy into season 3. I mean, we can't ignore it. Gordon Cole says we all remember the ancient phrase, we are like the dreamer who dreams but lives inside the dream. Mm-hmm. That comes from Hindu philosophy. If he's putting it in there, we can't ignore it.
Yeah.
So what is it there that he's thinking about, that he's placing into Twin Peaks? Well, it's sort of this concept of the world is an illusion and we all see it our own way. The world is as you are, which is a quote that he deliberately raises in an interview that he did with a French magazine. And so he's insisting that this concept is important. And so I just figured if that's true, then how do we apply that to what we're seeing in Twin Peaks, and does it fit and does it make sense? And so for me, it made a lot of sense. And in fact, it helps me kind of rationalize a great deal of what we see happening in season 3. I call it in the article a mediated narrative. That is, someone else is mediating the story for us. Mm-hmm. They're telling us the things they want to tell us, and they're telling us, Cooper, the way he wants to tell it. So maybe he's interested in some of these things that are going on in the Roadhouse, but not interested enough to really follow through with, what happens afterwards. It just had a sensibility to it that helped me kind of put my hands around, for the first time, really comfortably feeling like I had a grip on season 3.
Nice. Now, I noticed, though, there is no Chet Desmond in this article.
Chet Desmond is mentioned. That's interesting. You
I'm really. It's Scott in my ear right now saying, "Bring up Chet Desmond."
Scott said, "Well, artwork that he wanted to use with Chet Desmond," and he goes, "Where?" I said, "Well, I didn't mention Chet Desmond in the article." He goes, "Well, how could you not?" I'm like, "Because it's something else entirely. It's about season 3."
Yeah.
And why do I force Chet Desmond? And he goes, "Well, people are going to want to know." And so I do have a short footnote. And I'm going to read the footnote to
Please
you.
Please
do. So
yes.
Can hear it. The footnote says, some people, like pesky co-editors, will want to know if this means I think Chet Desmond, the FBI agent investigating the Banks case in Fire Walk with Me, is a real character rather than a figment of Cooper's dreaming mind. My short answer is, it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to evade the question. It's just that Twin Peaks is ultimately about Laura Palmer and Dale Cooper.
Yep.
The Fire Walk with Me prologue, no matter how much it features Desmond, is Cooper's story. This is what David Lynch originally envisioned, what he wrote and intended to film. Last-minute changes in Kyle MacLachlan's availability made that impossible, so Lynch found another way to make the prologue fit his vision. Chet Desmond's presence is negligible and doesn't add anything to the deeper connections between Laura and Cooper. If it makes you feel better to think he's real, fine. But that won't make the story any more or less meaningful. So that's my
You dropped the mic.
Drop the mic.
That's
on
a drop the
Scott.
mic. Boom.
Nice. How did I miss that footnote? How did I miss that?
I don't know. It's footnote number 10, page 15.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so good. And I thought it was, we were all there in Washington for part 12, and we actually got to have you on for a minute with Scott. And I thought it was so funny because Scott was like, in part 12, they mentioned the word Chet Desmond. And
so your theory is done.
But you guys had a lot of fun with that. But
well, and in fact, this new way of looking at it would explain Chet Desmond, why he's mentioned. There may be a real Chet Desmond. It could very well be there was a character named Chet Desmond who went and investigated and disappeared. I don't have any problem with that at all. I don't need him to be make-believe. What I do think is that we spend too much time worrying about what happened to him and who he is, because that was never going to be the story. That was never intended to be, and Lynch wasn't going to follow up on it. The story's about Cooper, and it's about Laura. And so if Cooper created Chet Desmond out of his mind, then he would think of him when he's relating the story of season 3. If he didn't create Chet Desmond, who's in fact a real character, then he would mention him in season 3 and move on.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Right, and I talked to Bob Angles, and the only reason there is a Chet Desmond is because we didn't get Kyle MacLachlan for the whole movie and stuff like that. So he was always a substitute for Dale Cooper or for Kyle, either way. But
sure, you got to remember that's sort of the key argument, and I don't mean to sort of relitigate the whole Firewalk with Me thing, but the whole Deer Meadow prologue was written for Cooper. It was done. It was completed. They had written. They were going to do it. And then Kyle MacLachlan said, I can't do it, or I won't do it. And they're like, okay, we'll just get a new actor. And they just changed the name. All the dialogue, for the most part, is the same.
Yep.
So it was intended to be Cooper. And then Cooper becomes kind of a prominent player later in that part of the story. My argument is it's always Cooper. That we're seeing what Cooper wants you to see in the prologue.
Man, oh man,
it's such a good argument.
So
it really is so good. I'm glad that Scott convinced you to return to this because it really is your best work, and it really makes a lot of sense. You really laid it out, and I love it.
Thanks. I've had some good reaction to it. Most of the people who've read it and have sent it out to a couple people, it's been a positive reaction. They said, this is a really good argument. And some people have said that you haven't convinced me. You've entertained me, but you haven't convinced me. I got that comment, which is fine.
You probably got that 25 years ago already when issue 60 was.
Funny thing is, I'm not trying to convince anyone. I'm just trying to figure it out. And so I'm figuring it out in public. So you can read me trying to figure it out if you want, or just not. It doesn't matter to me. But I think I'm offering something that at least helps you get a different handle on how to look at season 3 and answer some of the confusing elements. I don't answer them all in here, and I make clear there are things part 18 is still a tough nut to crack. And my argument right now is that part 18 is Laura Palmer's and Diane version of they're relating the events in part 18. We no longer are seeing it through Cooper's eyes. We're seeing it through their eyes. Yeah. So that's my first attempt to try to make sense of part 18. And I also argue that anything that we see in black and white in season 3 is outside of Cooper's perception. That these are things that happened that Cooper either didn't know about or couldn't filter for us. So when we see the atomic bomb explode and we see the woodsman running around the convenience store and we see the firemen in at the very beginning with Cooper, that those things are not filtered through Cooper's mind. You get a flashback to Firewalk with Me. It's curious to me in part 17 when we flash back to Firewalk with Me, why is it in black and white and not color? Because the film is in color. It could have been in color. And I mean, some argument has been made that what we see in black and white is stuff that happened in the past. And so that's why it's color coded that way. It's black and white. It means it happened in the past. And that may be a great explanation for it. My argument is that the things that happened in Firewalk with Me were beyond Cooper's ability to perceive and to relate to us, and so they're happening the way they happened in Firewalk with Me, not the way they happened that Cooper wants us to think they happened. And so they're in black and white because of that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Why did you on here?
Yeah, good
stuff.
stuff.
The way to go, right?
Go out there and get this issue, people. I mean, what are you waiting for? If
so
you haven't
good.
gotten it already.
There are other ideas for articles that you're working on right now?
That one really kind of exhausted me a little bit. I'm going to be writing some stuff for this Men of Lynch issue that's coming up, and I'm going to be briefly taking on Cooper, but only, just in passing. We're going to try to get everybody to write about Cooper. I'm going to do some characters from Inland Empire, which are characters that I don't know a lot about, so I'll something new to deal with. We've got some other Twin Peaks stuff we're going to write, but it's not dense as what I'm describing here right now. I kind of burn out on essays now after writing this, so we just got to see what kind of bubbles up. What I really want to do is kind of revisit this essay. There was a lot I thought about afterwards. I thought, I didn't mention this, or I should have added that, or I could have expanded this to make it make more sense. So I may try to come back to this and see if I can expand it any.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I think that would be great. I mean, especially when you're dealing with dreams. I mean, there's so much. When we talked about Community Rewatch, I mean, there's so much. Like every episode seems to talk about dreams and Twin Peaks, and I feel like, you could go back through the whole series and probably connect things to the article that you wrote.
Yeah, I think so. And I think you go back and look at Lynch's other work, and of course, again, as I say, things that Lynch has actually said in his own life about just the way he views the universe. But, Lost Highway is a great example of this kind of idea at work. There's so many confusing things in Lost Highway, right?
Yeah.
But like with any Lynch film, I'm going to go back to Eraserhead. There's so many examples in Eraserhead and other films where what we see depicted on the screen, because we're seeing it in color or in black and white, we're seeing it in action, we're seeing it happen in front of us on the screen, we immediately assume it's actually happening. And there are scenes in Eraserhead that you can interpret as scenes that we're only seeing through Henry's eyes. I'm thinking of the scene where he opens the door and he looks out the hallway and he sees the woman across the hall and she's got another man. I have to go back and look at it, and I don't want to get too I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it, but there are scenes that seem curious and inexplicable, but if you think of them as what we are seeing is not what happened, but we are seeing what Henry saw.
Yeah.
Then it makes a little more sense. And obviously with Lost Highway, you could apply that idea to it. It's like what we're watching is someone's mind processing information. This is how they are.
Yeah.
Mulholland Drive is another really good example of that. And I would argue even to a small extent, there's elements of that in the Straight Story, especially at the end when this tractor comes out of nowhere and Alvin's tractor magically restarts. It's almost like an angel that has come down and guided him. How much of this is quote unquote real, and how much of it is just wish fulfillment or wishful thinking or just the way I remember it?
Totally.
Yeah.
And I definitely think, looking at both Part 18 and you look at Lost Highway, there's actually a lot of parallels. I mean, you have Fred waking up, he seems disoriented. You have Cooper or Bryon saying Richard waking up. And then you have, of course, they're both going on this road at night, and they're kind of disoriented. Yeah, I mean, I guess I would love to kind of look at both the Part 18 and the film of Lost Highway again. And I think there's a lot of similarities.
I would say there probably certainly is. I need to watch Lost Highway again.
Well, John, thank you so much for your time. I really recommend everybody who's listening, you got to pick up issue 9 with John's amazing article. And the great thing is that you could get it right this instant that we're talking. You can just go to Amazon and there's a Kindle version.
Yes.
I mean, it's really reasonably, I think it's like $4. So if you can't wait, and I also, of course, recommend going to Blue Rose. Is it just bluerose.com?
BlueRoseMag.com.
I think it's bluerosemag.com. Correct.
Go there.
And you're absolutely right. If somebody wants to read this right now, they don't have to, wait for the issue to show up in the mail. You can go on and get the ebook version, but it's not a lot of money. I mean, it really isn't. You'll get the whole issue. You don't just get that essay. You'll get the Harry Goaz interview, and you will get a great article by Matt Marone that talks about Major Briggs and his role in the story. We got an interview with Robert Broski, who played the God-o-Light woodsman. We've got other cool stuff, and so all of that would be, you'd have it instantly.
And I actually have, for this issue, I have it digitally because I love being able to be anywhere and just, bring it up on my phone, bring it up on any computer, whatever. So I have it digitally, but of course I have the physical copy. Nothing beats a physical copy of actually going through the pages and just enjoying it. And I recommend everybody get a subscription so they get it. So just every issue that comes out, they get it.
Year 3.
Yeah, they get it in the mail.
We are working on issue 10 right now.
Wow.
I've seen the cover to issue 10 and I absolutely love it. It's just fantastic. Not you should buy it for the cover alone, but we have some good content already in place for that, and I think it's a good solid issue. We're working on issue 11, and we've got some good contributors already. A major portion of the work is done on that.
Is that the Men of Lynch?
So be the Men of Lynch. That'll be out in the summertime or late summer.
If you want to make sure you get every one of these issues, I would recommend that you just subscribe because, if I'm right, I think Scott says like when you guys sell out, you don't always you don't get new ones. I mean, you don't reprint. I mean, I don't know if you do, but a lot of times I think you guys they're gone and.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that when we were doing the first year, we printed a lot of extra copies. Of course, Twin Peaks was on the air at the time, and we wanted to have back stock available. But we do not print extra copies now. We print a very limited amount. The people who are subscribing, and then there's some overstock, but not a lot. Yeah, when they sell out, they're sold out. They're not going back to print. It just costs us too much money to keep it in print. Although, again, the ebook is available.
Yeah. But again, there's nothing like having a physical magazine. And I'm sure I said to you, John, I made the mistake back in the day. I did not have keep my subscription up for Wrapped in Plastic. And as I got, because life, whatever. But then when it was time to do this podcast, it's like, oh, I really wish I had every issue. And it took me a while to start trying to find all those issues and stuff. And why go through the trouble? Just go and get it now. And
don't regret it in 25 years.
Yeah. That's right.
Well, thank you so much, John. Can you tell us how we can follow you?
The best place to get to me is on Twitter. And so my handle there is @ThornWhip. That's THORNEWIP. And so you can follow me there. And I mean, you can get to me through bluerosemag.com too if you want to send emails and that kind of thing. That's the best way probably to get to me.
Hey, what's up, Doc? I feel like I'm going to dream tonight. Big bad ones about the Pink Room Burlesque. This mystery man invited me to their big party at Bedlam in New York City. People will be dressed up, and there will be dancing girls. It's Thursday, May 16th, the night before the Festival of Disruption. Meet me at Easter Park, or check out thepinkroomburlesque.com.
And now, here's an interview with Mike McGraner.
I wanted to do this Lynch series for 5 years. I had no idea that it would get the attention, outside of Columbus, Ohio. So it's kind of this is a wild thing.
How did this director series come about?
I produce and direct a show called Night Owl Theater with this late night movie host named Fritz the Night Owl that was around when I was a really little kid. And I directed my first film in 2009. It premiered at Disneyland in a festival. And when I was out there, they ask you what your next project is. And I kind of BS'd my way into just saying, I'm going to bring back my childhood hero, Fritz the Night Owl. And I had no idea if he was alive or where he was or what was going on. And I ended up doing that in 2010. And about 2 or 3 years into this, so 5 years into the show, 2015, I won an Emmy for directing that. And
wow.
I was like, whoa, this is awesome. And it was just one of those unexpected things. And then I've always been creative about, I love 80s horror. I love Twin Peaks. And those were the two loves of my life. And then, so I did this horror series called Terror from the 80s that I currently do still, in addition to Night Owl, which is wrapping up. But, it's every month is a double feature of 80s horror back to back with intermissions and trailer reels like Grindhouse. It's exactly like Grindhouse. So I took in leader film and made these filters and basically you're watching two movies, but the presentation is just you're watching the actual prints from the 80s. So complete with real changes and stuff. So while I was doing that this whole time, what I really wanted to do around 2014, I think it was, is start this David Lynch series. And I pitched it to the 4 indie theaters in Columbus because I knew I wanted it to be a single screen or an independently run theater because I just feel that's more of the room for David Lynch, less of a multiplex kind of thing. and everyone in Columbus, all 4 theaters, just basically said Lynch doesn't have enough fans to fill a room.
Wow.
And I was so insulted by that because I'm like, then I must look like a crazy person to you trying 4 years now to get this thing going. And so last year I got to do it. The first theater that said yes was 75 miles from me in Miamisburg. And this town looked like the town from Blue Velvet. It was like a really small town, and the theater was amazing. It was like 300 seats, and it was just this old town theater that they had just restored. And I got up through Lost Highway, and they canceled it because there wasn't enough attendance to keep it going. I didn't lose my motivation for it, but I was just like, if I'd have done this in Columbus, it would have worked. Just like the whole, I wasn't ready to give up on it because Lynch is what got me into film. I mean, the pilot of Twin Peaks is what got me into this whole thing. And so in Columbus, the theater that I was doing my other 2 series at, my Terror from the 80s series got canceled in Columbus and moved to London, Ohio, which is where I am with it now. And then Night Owl's coming to an end in Columbus as well. And so I just asked the owner of the theater, I said, hey, I know you're against the Lynch series, but just give me Eraserhead. Let me do Eraserhead. And then if that does well, give me Elephant Man. If that does well, give me Dune. And so that's what he agreed to. And Eraserhead sold out. And so when that's a 250 seater. So I'm like, okay. So every seat was filled. And when Eraserhead sold out at midnight, like Lynch at midnight should not work. Even though Eraserhead's a midnight movie, I mean, I could stay up till 4 or 5 in the morning, no problem. I've been doing it for years. Most people, though, if you're not in the right alertness to watch a Lynch film, you're gonna get hypnotized and fall asleep. Yeah. So I'm shocked that it worked. But as soon as Eraserhead sold out, both the owner of the theater and myself were like on this high. And I knew Ray and Cheryl from the conventions that I had done with them. And I had done 3 things where I hosted it with them. And I told Eric, I said, hey, what's your budget like? Not to get crazy, but when we get 6 months from now, when we get to Twin Peaks, can I bring in some guests? And Eric loves guests coming into the theater. And so I brought Adrian King from Friday the 13th last year. And so we just haven't done anything since then. And I said, I know the 2 leads from Twin Peaks. The great thing about him is he has this great place, but to him, it's like this Twin Peaks thing that I'm taking a gamble on. Whereas for me, it's like, I know we're going to rock this. Like, we're going to sell it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, cool. Can I do this little Twin Peaks thing, man? And can you give me like, X thousands of dollars and let me book a couple guests? And so he agreed to it. He said, I'll try anything once. So he'll give me the chance. And so I called, made a phone call and just made it happen. It was weird.
The tickets go on sale, and it seems like they pretty much almost sell out the first showing or something. And how does the owner of that theater think of that? And like, we have months away before it's actually even available to see.
He knows this isn't that little Twin Peaks thing. No, what happened was when the tickets went on sale, and I'm such a fan of pick a time that they're going to go on sale and hype that time almost as if it's like the event. So I want to promote the on sale time and the date and make this an event for all the fans. And so that Saturday morning at 10, when it went on sale, my phone is set to just alert me when 1 ticket sells.
Nice.
And at 10 a.m., I mean, I was already sitting at the computer, but my phone vibrated off of the desk. Wow. And when I looked, within 2 minutes, there were 37 ticket sales. And that's 37 ticket orders. So if one order had more than 1 ticket on it, there was 37 separate orders that came in within 2 minutes.
Wow.
So Friday and Saturday sold out so fast. I had asked Ray and Cheryl's manager, since they're going to be here all weekend and, I'm going to be their wheels and everything, I said, do they want leisure time? And he's like, no. Add shows if you got to add shows. And I was like, seriously? I added the Sunday 2 p.m. and then that started selling. And then I was just like, you know what? Let's add a matinee on Saturday because we got the whole day anyway. So we just brought it up to 4 shows. And now both the Saturday matinee and the Sunday afternoon are half sold out. Friday and Saturday are sold out except for VIP tickets. Yeah. So it's going really well. And the whole reason for that VIP is just, obviously this is not a cheap show to put on. And that was a way to go ahead and pre-sell autographs and photos. Like, everything's included in that price. And I gave them an exclusive poster by our artists. That was a way to kind of like see if we could recoup what we're putting into this. without scaring ourselves half to death. And so
Yeah.
I want to offer that VIP ticket. Yeah.
So the day that it came on sale, I got 2 separate tickets. I think I got the Friday night, and then I got the was it the Saturday one that was available? It was the 2 nights that were available originally.
Yeah, it was Friday and Saturday night at 7 p.m.
And I was tempted to actually do the matinee Saturday, and I think I had some Twin Peaks friends that were like, we would like to hang out with you a little bit too. I can't spend the whole weekend just seeing Firewalk with Me.
Over.
But I'm excited to see it, and I'm excited that you've got these you got Ray Wise and Cheryl Lee there, and I mean it's going to be a wonderful weekend.
What I'm looking forward to, because I didn't know at the time that this was going to happen, and Scott and Josh were keeping me in the loop of from the world of Twin Peaks, like what was going on amongst podcasters and magazines and blogs. And, when they told me that people are flying here to come see this show and groups are going to meet, Twin Peaks groups are going to meet up.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the moment where I couldn't believe it. But at the same time, I'm so bummed I'll be working the whole weekend. 'Cause I really want to meet these people.
Oh, you'll meet them. I'm sure afterwards,
Yeah. Oh man!
So the way we're doing it, I mean, now Ray's from Ohio. He's from Akron. So the greatest thing about that is like he'll be able to see family and everything. We'll have like one leisure night, and then Friday night is the first show, and then Saturday it's just work from start to finish, and then Sunday the 2 p.m. and then luckily Monday's the airport day, so we'll at least get to chill out, after Sunday. I'm kind of blown away. Like you're not the only person that bought a ticket to more than one. There's actually a lot of names when I was checking ticket sales. I noticed all 4 shows have repeat names. So like
nice.
people have bought tickets to all 4. I think just if I was a fan of this, which I am, but I mean if I wasn't working, I would have been there probably all 4 shows to literally not so much watch Firewalk with Me as much as hang out, just to stay there and be there with all the other fans and how cool that would be.
I agree.
Yeah.
So that VIP, right? It gets you in there in the door first too, doesn't it?
I've been asked that question so many times, and my intention with that was not first in line through the door, but first in. The VIPs will be the first to line up when the autograph session starts, so they get their things first and guarantee everyone's going to be able to meet them and get their autographs, but like I want to guarantee the VIPs like that they'll do it without being rushed. So it's set up so that Firewalk with Me is first, then it's myself with Cheryl and Ray, and we're going to do a Q&A with the audience, and then there's the autograph session. But then the last 90 minutes are going to be the missing pieces. So we're going to see that on the big screen.
Awesome.
And so basically it's bookended with Firewalk with Me and Missing Pieces. So I could basically, when Missing Pieces starts, that's my way to kind of get Ray and Cheryl out of there without everyone kind of lingering. And the autograph session at some point will have a time limit on it. So I just want to make sure that the people that bought the VIPs are first to go so that it's not like, okay, we got to move along.
Right.
Yeah.
What format is Firewalk with Me being shown on? Is it a Blu-ray?
DCP. Every presentation I do DCP. I'll make my own, or we'll get them from the studio. This Firewalk with Me is booked from Janus Films, and the DCP file is coming from them. So it's based on the 4K restoration that Criterion has.
Wow.
Cool.
So it's going to look great.
Yeah, that's what I believe that's what Sutherland said about when we saw Twin Peaks in New York.
Right, when we saw season 3.
Did you guys go to season 3?
Yeah. Ben went for 2 days. I went for 1 day.
Yeah, we basically got it. Oh, I went up to part 8, and that was about it.
Yeah.
I wish
to be honest, part 8 is the most cinematic one out of all of them.
Right.
So, yeah. Part 8's amazing. Like my God. The night that aired, I just remember watching that live, just like, I don't even know. Like, I was watching it with 2 friends, and none of us said a word. I mean, it was just like, the hell is happening right now? This is amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've never been so terrified. I mean, the Woodsman, my God, that is a scary-ass scene.
Oh, yeah. It's something else. And like, we were doing the show every week, and so every week I was like, this is the week that Cooper wakes up or he's back. And stuff like that.
Yeah.
And never in my wildest mind would I think of what happened with part 8. Like, it's basically it was a game changer, I guess.
It was amazing.
Well, what's funny about that is when Dougie first woke up and we realized that he was a character, I'd watched most of this with a friend, and we had watched the original series back in the day. So, I mean, this is like, we've known each other forever. And so to see this happen was cool. But when Dougie woke up, my friend Mark literally was just like, we're not going to get Cooper till the end. He just right away. And so we just sort of accepted that. So Dougie never really pissed us off or frustrated me. I always thought it was like when I watch Lynch, I just kind of sit down for the journey, and whatever he dishes out, I'm already in. So it's not like when I saw the people complaining and everything, I'm just like, this is what, like, if we're so in love with Twin Peaks the way it was, go watch that show. We have it. Yeah. So it's kind of like I was ready to go back to that world, but I was ready for the new David Lynch film, which is what this was. So.
I mean, Kyle's performance was amazing as Dougie, Mr. C, and Cooper. And so I appreciate it, and I loved it, and there was the humor of Dougie. But as an old Twin Peaks fan, there was a little bit of me cringing, and I was like, come on, are you teasing us, David Lynch?
Every week Ben was, and I was fine with it. I don't think I ever really bothered me, but every week.
I felt teased. I can look at it now and go back and be like, I can appreciate what it is.
Well, I think what was so hard is we got 4 episodes right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And then we had to wait 2 weeks because I think it was like they showed 1 and 2 together and 3 and 4 together.
Right.
But if you had Hulu or whatever, I think I had Hulu subscription, you could watch all 4 at once, like that first night.
Yes.
And so that's what we did. And so here's 4 hours of Twin Peaks, and it's so amazing to be back. And then we have to wait before we get to the new one. So I think jumping from 4 hours down to 1 hour and then having the Dougie storyline thrown in there, it was sort of like, I mean, you're right. I could just see Lynch laughing.
Yeah.
So Fire Walk With Me, though, I always love that final scene, and I still feel like that does take place after all of this.
Right. I do, too. I think that's like the perfect ending for Twin Peaks.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it is, which is why when when we go back to the world, I think everyone was a little scared because it's just that fear of like, we are hyping this up for, we were hyping it up for 2016. And then when Showtime and David Lynch had the budget fight and he walked, I mean, we had to wait a year and a half more. So I feel like it was, by the time it was actually delivered, it's never going to be what we want it to be. My brother is seeing it for the first time right now because he finished Twin Peaks, but he never saw the new season. And as I'm watching it with him, he just finished episode 7, so 8 is next. And he, at this point, basically told me, this is not the town of Twin Peaks. This is something else. And I can't tell if he's disappointed or not, but I think maybe a little. And I don't know. Like, I'm not being like completely just to say the opposite, but I really was satisfied with this season. Like there were no complaints for me.
Tell us about they can get tickets and where you are, because we never know, there could be people all around the country or all around the world that might want to come to this event.
Well, most people listening to this, if you would like to fly to Columbus, Ohio for July 19th, 20th, and 21st, those are the 4 shows. So there's 2 on the 20th, 1 on the 19th, and 1 on the 21st. The website is facebook.com/The Director Series, and that's director singular, so The Director Series. And that's the website. And then where you can get tickets, you can find the event on that page and then click the ticket link. Otherwise, it's, get ready, squareup.com/store/The Director Series, but hyphens in between the words. So the-director-series. And that's how you get that'll take you right to the ticket page. Yeah, so there are tickets left for Saturday matinee at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 2 p.m. And there are tickets left for Friday and Saturday night, but they're VIP only, so they're $150, but they get you. So Ray and Cheryl are going to be selling autographs and pictures. So what this does is it combines autographs for both, pictures with both, and you get an exclusive poster featuring art that isn't available on its own at the show. So that comes with your ticket as well, and you'll get first in line for the autograph session.
That's a great deal.
Yeah. If you wanted to get signatures from both of them anyways, why not just go for the VIP? I mean, it makes sense.
So yeah, and that's what the ticket really does is it takes the bother out of, because the way we're doing the autograph purchases is we'll have a stand, and you go to the stand and you say, I want Ray, or I want Ray and Cheryl, and I want an autograph and picture, and then you're going to be given basically like a token to go up, because we don't want to handle cash at the booth. So it's like you do all your stuff at this booth, and then you go line up for the autographs. And so it's sort of weird, but if you have a VIP ticket, you don't have to worry about any of that because it's already figured out. You just stand in line.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I know you're also going to be doing Lost Highway. Is that the next month? Is that in August that you'll be doing Lost Highway?
So here's what's interesting about Lost Highway. So we were not able, I've been going chronological order, like that's a big deal for me. It's like the whole point of the director's series is to take a different director each year and chronologically watch one movie a month from their feature films, so that if you're a film student or if you're just somebody that wants to study the person, you can see their career progress and the decisions they made that were good or bad and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So we just finished Dune, went to book Blue Velvet, and MGM or whatever studio actually that has Blue Velvet right now, they're not booking it currently for screenings because they're about to release that Criterion 4K. Blue Velvet I couldn't get for May, so I had to skip it and go to Wild at Heart. Now, Lost Highway is supposed to be August. Lost Highway may be June if they don't give me Blue Velvet in June. But basically, I'll keep trying each month till we get Blue Velvet, and it'll go where they let us book it. But I'll just have to skip it if we don't. So that's why we're at Wild at Heart for May. We've got a screening of that in May, on May 25th, and then June's going to be either Blue Velvet or Lost Highway.
So cool.
And something is happening in August. I mean, you mentioned Dana Ashbrook. Bobby Briggs will be coming to Studio 35.
So it's a separate series. It's very similar to this thing, except I'm starting a new series. It's career retrospectives with certain actors, and it's like a 2-night thing, or it's cast reunions. It's like one or the other. And so the first thing out of the gate is I'm doing a cast reunion and screening of The Return of the Living Dead Parts 1 and 2.
Oh.
So it's going to be those two movies, followed by a Q&A with the whole cast of both, and then autograph session with the cast of both. And so that's going to be 2 nights. That's August 27th and 28th.
So this is me being dumb here. Dana Ashbrook was in those movies?
Dana Ashbrook is in Return of the Living Dead Part 2.
Ah.
He's the lead, actually. The lead male.
Wow. I don't know if I've seen it. I've seen the first one.
I've seen the first one,
I don't think I've seen the second one. Oh, wow.
So the second one, the budget is about half of the first one, but it's damn fun. So damn fun. And so when Dana confirmed for that, you know, part of me was like, well, maybe I'll just get Dana and put him on Fire Walk with Me. But then I feel like Fire Walk with Me should just, Ray and Cheryl, just, you know, father and daughter. It's pretty symbolic. I agree. I kind of want to focus on just that. And then if I do a Twin Peaks thing like next year or something like that, just like that's, you know, a different thing.
Right.
I'll try and get more. I'm in contact with most of the people, the representation that were in Twin Peaks. So the only people I can't get to are McLaughlin and Lynch right now. So, and I know Lynch's daughter, Jennifer's best friend, but that doesn't mean anything. That's as close as I get to David is Jennifer. So yeah. I feel like in my life, all the things that I used to BS about and kid about when I was a kid have come true now. So I feel like I'm in this thing where I'll never ask if someone could get me David Lynch. It's more of I'm going to do the best I can and quality-wise and presentation-wise for the things that I'm doing. And hopefully if someone offers, that'll guide me in the right direction. So
there you go. That's the way to do it.
What I would love from David, to be honest, about this whole thing, because, I mean, this series is just celebrating him and his career, and it's a year-long. I would love by the time we get to Inland Empire if there's some kind of just a quick 15-second video intro he could do would be awesome.
Wouldn't that be awesome? That would be so cool.
The fact that Twin Peaks is selling well, I don't know if it has a lot to do with Columbus or if it has a lot to do with Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Because I definitely feel like I lucked out with Twin Peaks. Like I don't feel like, you know, we'll see how Return of the Living Dead does. That's such a big cult movie. I feel like it'll do well. I don't know if it'll be because of Columbus. Columbus is just a city that it's a big city, but it's people just don't like leaving their houses for anything. They want you to bring it to them. They like Netflix. They like things where it's like, oh, I love Back to the Future. Cool. You want to go 5 minutes down the street and see it on the big screen? Nah, I'm just going to get high and watch it on Netflix. I'm a geek about the experience of it all and the presentation, and I think I try way too hard. Like I feel like I put more effort in than people kind of care about here, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing it.
Back to the Twin Peaks Firewalk With Me event. You have official art now of it. Do you want to talk about the poster I think you have in the shirt?
Yeah, so my artist on Night Owl for, you know, since we started is Matt Harris is his name. He's a huge monster movie Godzilla fan, and he is an incredible artist. And so he does a poster for us every month for any movie we feature on Night Owl, such as like RoboCop or Fright Night or Monster Squad or Killer Clowns. You know, he's done all of those, or the director series in general. he's done one for every single Lynch film through Lost Highway, and then he's going to do Straight Story and Mulholland Drive and Inland Empire when we get to him. But he has a Firewalk with Me poster already. But then I went to him and I said, I've got this VIP ticket I'm offering. Would you create one that has nothing to do with the other one you did, and sort of like make it more of an event, like feature Ray and Cheryl and sort of just, whatever you want to do. And I left it completely open to him. And he had the idea of the image that came to his mind and my mind, and we didn't know we were thinking the same thing, was the theatrical masks, like one smiling and one sad. Put Ray and Cheryl there. And the only thing I had asked him to do, if he could, was incorporate the white face and yellow teeth for both of them. So sort of like make it, those faces. So he did that for both, and it came out looking like a creepy as hell, but kind of awesome poster.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's so creepy.
It's so cool.
That is
So,
awesome.
and it was weird because like I was hoping it would give a boost to VIP sales also by revealing it now. I mean, I literally revealed it an hour after he finished it because we were just like, I was so excited about it. A lot of VIPs, they have no idea. They knew they were getting a poster, but they hadn't seen the art until just now. So people seem to be excited about it.
And I, of course, always love that it's in the red room. So not only do you have Leland and Laura's scary faces there, but they're in the red room, which is awesome.
Yeah, so cool.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. The poster itself, it's actually pretty big. Our usual posters are 18 by 24, which is a pretty good size. This is sort of rectangular, and I think it's the same width, but it's taller. So you would hang it on your wall like portrait instead of landscape. Yeah, so they're nice, and they're vinyl print and they're thick cardstock. So it's
Nice.
It's a nice thing. And then I wanted to offer the T-shirt because I didn't want the design to that poster is just for VIPs. Then there's a T-shirt that I wanted to offer for the event itself. That's like has the date on it and everything to kind of for the people that either didn't get a VIP or the people that want to wear that art on their shirt. It's a slightly different. Like the floor is different, the curtains are different, but it's the same faces. And then there's a one sheet that I'm having printed, but I'm only making like 2 or 3 of them so that they'll be up in the theater windows. And that's Ray and Cheryl's face from that art, but just against black.
Nice.
So those will be hanging in the windows at the theater all weekend.
And does the shirt need to be ordered ahead of time? I see this, but must be ordered by June 1st. What is?
Yeah, so the whole reason for that, and I might extend that to mid-June, but the whole reason is before the chaos of the event starts, whoever orders a shirt, I'm just going to order those, and so that we don't have them there for sale. And I know that seems crazy not to sell them at the event, but there will be so much stuff that I will be worried about that selling those shirts is not it's another thing. Plus, I want Ray and Cheryl to be able to sell their stuff.
Oh, yeah, good call.
It looks like I'm gonna have to order a shirt here in the next week or so.
I know you got to do it.
I just gotta do it because I just assumed when I first saw it, I thought I could get it when I at the event. So I'm glad that you're telling us that we have to get it now.
Well, and I might need to put online like really stress that people can't. And I really don't want to come off as like, like with the VIP tickets and with these shirts. I don't want to seem like I'm sort of like money, but I'm literally just trying to do it in a way that I want people to have a keepsake from this event. I want organization, which is the whole shirt thing and the reason why we're not selling it that night. It has nothing to do with like I want to make this rare. Because trust me, I want to sell as many shirts as we can. I need to worry about sort of compartmentalize things as we get closer to the gig and just get all this taken care of now because I'm going to be stressed.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, I get you.
I just feel like everybody who bought that ticket would be excited to wear that shirt to the event.
I feel like, my goal is for people to walk in and say, because we'll have a list of VIPs. We'll have a list of general admission, and everyone will have a wristband. The wristbands are already delivered into my house, so I'm like happy about that. But everyone will have a wristband that's going to be color coded and design specific to each show, so that people can't sneak in or blah blah blah. And so when people check in, my goal is that they check in, they get the proper wristband, they get their poster if they're a VIP, and they get their shirt if they ordered a shirt. All at once, all at the top. There's nothing to worry about once they've checked in. Everyone can relax, drink, and have fun or whatever. Thanks to you guys and Blue Rose and everybody that's Twin Peaks related helping promote it. It's it's sort of something where I didn't have to go kind of Facebook crazy with it.
Is there anything else that you'd want to tell people about the Fire Walk With Me event or about the Director Series in general?
If they're regional or local to Columbus or close by at all, supporting this series is a big thing because it's independent. I mean, every month, pay for the rental of the film, which is anywhere from like $250 to $350. And then once that's paid for and locked, we're good. But that means we have to sell, because tickets to this series are only $8. So per screening, they're only $8 tickets. Twin Peaks is $30 because obviously, having the guests and the costs associated with it.
Yeah.
But that's the only one. But as far as keeping it going after that, a lot of the money made from Twin Peaks is going into guarantees for Ray and Cheryl and management and things. So, I mean, it's definitely it survives month to month because of David Lynch fans. And so that's a really important thing to have people keep coming to the show and not just Twin Peaks or not just cherry picking. I know everybody for some reason wanted to skip Dune, and I'm like, I get it, but come to Dune because
you can't
Dune's going to pay for Blue Velvet. So
Yeah.
Like the reason I do all of this stuff, because I don't have a day job. I mean, this is like just what I've done. I'm a musician too. So I've got a weird music thing that's actually separate. That was a fluke that just kind of happened last year, which is actually going to be my job. So besides that, I'm doing this. And I've always believed that, like, when I was a kid and everything, with your friends in a treehouse and everybody's like planning stuff together and putting on these cool shows. And I mean, that's sort of my goal with this is so to be interactive the day tickets went on sale, to post those videos and everything. I felt like we were all in like the same room and kind of like cheering this thing on together. And I think that's the reason I did it. I love doing stuff like that. Yeah. I just don't want to seem like this person behind the scenes that's like, buy your ticket, come to the show, I'll make the money, and then it's just not who I am. So
right. Yeah. That comes off, yeah, definitely. Well, Mike, thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person and checking out the movie and seeing Cheryl Lee and Ray Wise.
It's a big weekend.
In a few months.
Yeah, you too. This was great.
And if anybody has a comment or question or thought about today's episode, give us an email at twinpeaksunwrapped@gmail.com. Everything mentioned, the links are in the show notes. Also, like us on Facebook. Follow us on the old Twitter. Subscribe to us on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're on Google Play. Leave us a 5-star review. A nice little comment's always nice as well. And support us by going to TeePublic. And with that being said, we'll see you guys
soon.
I see you in the trees. I see you in the trees. Under the sick